Welcome to the Lemon Sports Preview Show. I'm Trey Mahler alongside Brady Allerson and Bobby Hessling as we switch it up and take a look back at the historic Nebraska men's basketball season.
Break down the upcoming first top 25 series of the season for Nebraska baseball.
And Nebraska softball climbs in the top 5 of the latest top 25 poll. We'll have the breakdown of their weekend series against Wisconsin.
Spring has sprung, and we're covering it all right here on Nebraska Nightly. First major portal hit today for Nebraska basketball. Berke Buchtengel put his name in the pool today, guys.
Yeah, just a day after tattooing 28-7 on one of his arms, he's hit the portal, leaving fans a little bit confused, but he's got to get that bag.
Yeah, and obviously so many unknowns of why he would leave at this point. You mentioned the tattoo, 28-7. And it's a big question of, is he trying to go for more money? Is it just the scheme isn't right? Does Hoiberg think they can go out and get better players? Obviously, a whole lot of unknowns. Wishing him the best. Obviously, he has just been phenomenal for this Nebraska team the last 2 seasons. Was a big part of the game against Vanderbilt as well, hitting the 2 threes that were relatively crucial. The first one and then the one in the later stages.
Yeah, he's going to be an interesting role to fill with Buchtengel being gone because obviously his production was on the boards. He hit occasional 3. But it was a locker room guy. You remember the blood on the mouth against Wisconsin. He was just one of those enthusiastic voices that a good team needed, which is going to make an interesting hole to fill, getting a culture guy that will be coming in for his first season.
I mean, nobody cared more about Nebraska than Berke Buchtengel. He was always firing up the fans. He was always the first guy off the bench trying to get the fans going. You saw his reaction after the loss. I mean, he truly cared about this team, so it is surprising to see him enter the portal.
Especially after coming from overseas, then he goes to UCLA for a year, not a fit in UCLA, and now he comes to Nebraska, and last season they are in the Crown. A really good season. There's all the memes of him wearing the Crown hat, and then he's wearing Herbie's hat as well after the Iowa game, and then after the Vanderbilt game as well. It is a culture loss, but you can probably find somebody like that out of the portal as well. I know that's easier said than done, but there are plenty of those types of players that exist.
Yeah, definitely a face that Husker fans will miss next season. Well, staying in the basketball storylines, Fred Hoiberg was named AP Coach of the Year, an honor that I think most would say is deserved.
I mean, one of the best seasons, the best season in Nebraska basketball history. Obviously, he deserved it. It was a struggle those first couple seasons for Hoiberg, so it's awesome to see him get this accolade after some people were calling for him to be gone, and then he bounces back and does something like this.
Yeah, and the nice thing about that as well is he's just adding to his trophy case. Big Ten Coach of the Year in 2024, and then gets the coach's recognition this season again in the 25-26 season, and then he adds AP Coach of the Year as well. And this was a Nebraska team pick in the bottom half of the Big Ten and surprises pretty much the whole world on where he can be, and is just at the top and has led this Nebraska basketball team to a historic season. We're talking first ever NCAA tournament victory, first ever Sweet 16, and finishing top 5 in the Big Ten this season. Just an impressive feat overall, not to mention most wins ever in a season.
Well, here's what Coach had to say at his end-of-season press conference on Monday.
You talk to the guys, I think they are really proud of what they accomplished. And I talked a lot about being able to share this journey with as good a fan base as there is in the country. And, you know, our guys loved it. They loved the support that they got. A lot of firsts in the program. You know, I know we've talked a lot about that, but the biggest ones were getting that tournament win and building off that. And, you know, now the next step is continue to be here.
With Michigan taking home the men's national championship on Monday, that signals the end of the college basketball season. Now looking at the Nebraska season as a whole, I mean, where do you even start? So many moments in history, but I think the biggest that separates this season from others were those 2 NCAA tournament wins.
Yes, and the first one is Vanderbilt. That sticks out to me because me and Justice Rhodey had the opportunity to be down there, do that game on 90.3 KRNU. All-time feeling, all-time game, the emotions at an all-time high. It was just awesome to be down there and watch a game like that. You're talking about just one of the best moments in Nebraska basketball history, top to bottom.
And I think one thing that played into it, too, is you saw that 20-0 start. This team had hype around it. They knew that they could make a run, so you win that first game against Troy. Then you beat Vanderbilt, and people aren't just thinking Sweet 16. They're thinking you win that game, you get to the Elite Eight, you can make a Final Four. There was so much hype around the team, which made it that much more fun.
Yeah, I think the big week that sticks out, Fred touched on all season, was the Creighton Sunday night, Wisconsin Wednesday, Illinois on Saturday. I think that was the week when you're like, this team is probably for real.
And I said that on a show earlier this week as well, and they're like, what was this moment where you had a feeling that this Nebraska team was that good? And it's, you win against Creighton on Sunday, you have a short week, and then blow the doors off of Wisconsin on Tuesday, couple days off, and then you have to go on the road in a really tough environment against a really, really good Illinois team, and you win on a buzzer beater where you almost had to have everything go right, and it did. Price started hot, everyone played well, got a lot of good minutes out of Jared Garcia, and it just worked for the Huskers. That whole stretch was their turning point of like, oh yeah, they can do this for real.
There was talk before that game started that Illinois was going to be a dark horse Final Four team, and then, of course, they did end up making the Final Four. But you beat a team like that on the road at their house, you really just finally see that this team is good and capable, and then you see them play Michigan as well, and as well as they played against Michigan, that's when I knew that this team was legit.
Yeah, I think one thing that made this season so much fun for the Nebraska fans was the way this team played the game. I think a lot of what Fred Hoiberg said this team tried to do was play in a way that resembles the work ethic of the state, the grittiness, the tough plays, the plays that other guys might not make that you make. And I think that's what made the season so fun for the fans was it was a really easy team to root for.
It was, and there was so many great personalities in it as well. You didn't look at someone and think, how do you feel about this guy? Everyone loved the starters. Everyone loved just everything about the culture because they were such a tight-knit group, all in all. And you mentioned the grittiness. You mentioned Berke Buchengel, who's out on the floor, and he's got blood on his face and is just trying to pump up the crowd. Sam Hoiberg, top to bottom, just a phenomenal player as well, leading the guard spot. Jamarcus Lawrence comes back and does a phenomenal job, again, as one of the guards of this team. And you can't really forget about Rink Mass and Braden Frager, the hometown Lincoln kid. It's just who they were, just really good ball players.
I think people were able to rally around guys like Hoiberg and Jacobson because of that Nebraska grit you talked about. They're always diving on the floor. You can see their heart. They wear it right on their sleeves. People just really took to that, and it was such a likable team.
Yeah, and Bobby, you touched on it, but what were your favorite moment of the season this year had to be the Vanderbilt game.
It absolutely had to be, and we're talking the Frager layup with 2.2 and then Tyler Tanner's half-court shot that had rattled out. I think another one that could have been up there had it been a different outcome is the Purdue game. Had Rink Mass sank that free throw and Nebraska beats Purdue coming back from down 23 and winning with a second and a half left on a Rink Mass free throw, I think that would have been the top moment of the season because that was one of the loudest I've ever heard Pinnacle Bank Arena all year. And then another special one is on Senior Day against Iowa, the Cale Jacobson 15, Hoiberg having a late steal. That's another special game as well.
Both of those tournament picks would be easy answers, but for me, I was driving home back to Kansas City during that Illinois game, and listening to Kent Pabelka on the radio when we sunk that three to win it was easily my highlight of the year.
Yeah, I think that's synonymous with that. I don't even think any Nebraska fan watches the TV broadcast anywhere. If you're watching that play, you're watching the Kent or listening to the Kent Pabelka call with that. And I think for me, obviously, yeah, the Troy is going to be an easy one. The Vanderbilt's going to be an easy one. But that Iowa senior night game that you mentioned, they really controlled the game for about 36 minutes. Then Iowa comes back and ties it at 70. But then you hear them talking after the game, there's no way this team was going to lose that game. There's just so much fun in that senior night game to send the Rink Mass, Jamarcus Lawrence, Sam Hoiberg out in that style was a whole lot of fun. But then the Troy, specifically in the Troy game, the Frager dunk into the steal into the dunk, when was the moment in the game where you're like, this team's finally going to do it. I think the crowd in Oklahoma City, Bobby, you can touch on it, was unbelievable. But they were up 16, I believe, at the time, and the steal into the dunk into the timeout was the moment where you're like, this team's finally going to get over that hump.
It was the crowd pop on the Sanford three when it made it 21-15, I want to say, in transition, and then the Frager dunk. It was just one of those where you're like, this is incredible. This is so loud. The Vanderbilt game set the decibel record inside the Paycom Center. It was just a phenomenal game, phenomenal atmosphere. And, yeah, it's just moments, very small moments like that work.
And you remember, I think it was before that Vanderbilt game, Houston was playing. I'm not sure who they were playing against.
A&M.
Second half.
A&M.
And there's a Go Big Red chant going on. Nebraska's yet to take the floor, probably just getting to the locker rooms, and there's Go Big Red raining out.
About that, we're in the media room. Justice and I are right before we're even thinking about going on, and we're hearing the chant, and I look at him, I'm like, is this for real? Is this for real? And it really was, because they take the floor, the Go Big Red, the Husker Power chants. I think it just sent shockwaves to everyone. Like, this is real deal. They mean business, and they really, really want to get to that Sweet 16.
And another moment I don't think is going to be talked about as much just because of the outcome of the game was the Nebraska team played in the Sweet 16. Yeah. Like the Sweet 16 Elite 8 logo on the mid floor, they shot the lights out in the first half. Just an almost surreal moment for Nebraska fans to see their team playing on a Sweet 16 floor, and I think it's going to be a moment that's kind of maybe pushed under the rug because of the outcome.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it will be, but with all those moments that have happened, you can sit here and you can look at those moments and be like, that's the first ever Nebraska team that made it to a Sweet 16. No other Nebraska team had done that, and it's a really hard-fought game, and against another Big Ten foe. It's your rival, which is unfortunate for Nebraska fans, and you lose that game, but it was an impressive game nonetheless. And just being down there for that one as well for all the Nebraska fans, it's one they will remember forever of I was at the first ever Nebraska Sweet 16.
I think it hurts so bad because you just think about what could have been. Nebraska led, they had that 5-minute scoring drought to end things, but you're going to hang a banner because of that game.
And what a season. So many historic moments and new benchmarks that were set. It's a team that will never be forgotten in Husker history. Well, that's a wrap on the 2025-2026 men's basketball season. But coming up after the break, we hop into Nebraska baseball as the spring sports officially take center stage.
Of the 40 million tons of plastic waste generated in the U.S. in 2021, only 5%, or 2 million tons, was recycled. Make sure you do your part in keeping Anderson Hall clean. For more information on recycling statistics, visit epa.gov today.
Welcome back to the Unlimited Sports Preview Show. I'm Matthew Mills, joined alongside Bobby Hessling. And Bobby, Hawks Field has been a hot spot in Lincoln all season for the baseball team. They won their first 11 games this season. They
have just been phenomenal this season. They did suffer their first loss last night against Kansas, but 15-1 inside Hawks Field this season. They have just been phenomenal, top to bottom. This is one of the best teams that Nebraska baseball has seen in recent memory. They're scoring 7 runs a game on average inside Hawks Field. They are unbeaten in conference at home at 9-0. They have just been phenomenal inside Hawks Field, and everyone says they want Nebraska to host a regional this year. Well, if you're playing pretty well at home and you lose maybe 1-2 games, you're throwing your name out for a really good spot to host a regional.
And at home this season, the Huskers have outscored opponents by 59 runs. You mentioned, though, couldn't do it last night against Kansas. They rotated through 7 pitchers in their first home loss. Any concern going forward? I
don't think so. There were bright spots. You did like what you saw out of Kevin Minnell at times. We haven't seen a whole lot of Jalen Worthley, and he pitched really well for an inning and a third. The starting pitching was phenomenal with Gavin Blockowitz, as has been most of the Nebraska starting pitching.
Another key to that loss last night was an error in the top of the 7th. Ultimately gave Kansas their go-ahead runs. Nebraska going to be coming off the loss this weekend, going into Oregon, but they're going to have their starting pitchers back in Ty Horn, Carson Jassa, and Cooper Katsky.
This is a rotation top to bottom that is phenomenal. The numbers are on your screen and you can see them. As a group, as a group since March 1st. They are a combined 11-1 with a 3.32 ERA. The WHIP is a 1.16 and 105 total strikeouts over 84 1/3 innings pitched. They have been dominant all year. Since March 1st, they have just been phenomenal. They've been ideal in conference games. And Gavin Blachowicz is the midweek guy, has also been phenomenal as well. This season, he's 4-1 with a 2.43 ERA. The WHIP is a 1.01, 43 strikeouts over 37 1/3 innings pitched. This is the important thing. Nebraska baseball starting pitching has not really been a thing over the past couple years with Will Bolt. They finally have a group where the starting pitching is successful, and it takes a lot off the bullpen, because in years past you're not sure, are we getting 1 or 2 innings out of a starter and he's used as an opener, and then you got to use 8-9 arms out of the bullpen? Or, okay, are we rolling the dice on who's starting? Are we getting 2 innings out of him? Are we getting 6 innings out of him? They're a consistent 4 guys that you can trust that can go out and get you 4, 5, 6, even 7 innings of work on any given night or afternoon.
Phenomenal starters for Nebraska. They found a closer too in Joseph Olger. He's not allowed to hit in his last 4 appearances.
Yeah, Jayshawn Unger has just been phenomenal as well. You look at his numbers, last 4 outings, 4 saves, over 7 innings, allowing no runs, no hits. He's only walked 2 batters. This season, he's 4-1 with a 3.32 ERA. The WHIP is a 9.6, below 1. That's how good he is. 21 strikeouts in 21 innings pitched. He has just been dominant. They've needed that kind of closer all year, and they've needed one in years past as well, and they've kind of had it. They had it with Luke Broderick at times, but they haven't really found it. And then this year they find it with Jayshawn Unger, and they have just been really, really good out of the bullpen. The whole starting pitching, and just all the pitching in general, I should say, has just been phenomenal, and Rob Childress and that staff has got to be very happy.
Nebraska's going to face a tough Oregon lineup this week. Oregon batting .293 this season. Drew Smith batting .385, has 9 home runs on the season, and Angel Lai as well, 9 home runs. Nebraska pitchers going to have to be on point this weekend in Oregon, but the Huskers have 2 guys that can really swing the bat as well, in Dylan Carey and Mac Moyer.
Yeah, you're talking about one of the best leadoff guys in the entire country of Mac Moyer. He is batting around .410 right now. He's been above .400 for the entire year. Dylan Carey is one of the best hitters in the conference and the country. His numbers have dipped down over the last 2 or 3 games. Not really too worried about that. But they have just, again, been dominant all year. Mac Moyer, like I said, he's batting over .400. That's a guy who's getting on base. His OPS is almost above 1,000 just because of how well he can get on base. Dylan Carey breaks a double record. He's getting home runs as well. That's the exact bat that you want in the cleanup spot of your order. It's working for the Nebraska lineup on top of the Nebraska pitching staff.
And Dylan Carey's been able to make a name for himself in the Husker uniform, already breaking records, 57 doubles in his Husker career, breaking Will Bolt's record. So great for the Nebraska lineup going forward. And it'll be a tough ranked matchup this weekend in Oregon, but the Huskers have been strong to this point, especially within the Big Ten, only dropping 1 game on the road at Michigan. UCLA still leads the way, and Nebraska sits comfortably in second.
Yeah, it's a very interesting Big Ten. From years past, especially last year, the first year you've had all the West Coast schools, and it's UCLA, USC, Oregon, Washington are top 4. This year, it is UCLA, Nebraska, USC, Oregon. So it's a little different, but Nebraska has been phenomenal. This is their best conference start since the year 2000 back in the Big 12. This is their best Big Ten start ever. They are really good. I mean, I'm saying that too much. They've just been dominant all year, but they're handling business against the teams they have to beat. Their only losses against Michigan, and that was on a Friday night with Ty Horn starting the loss 2-1. Outside of that, they've won close games. They've had walk-offs. They've blown teams out. They've run-ruled teams. Anyone that gets in their way, they are not afraid of, and they are just mowing down.
Any teams in the Big Ten that are trailing Nebraska and UCLA that could pose a threat to either of those 2 teams?
For a threat for at least more of USC than, or for Nebraska more than UCLA is USC. USC just got swept out of UCLA this past weekend. Oregon is a really good team as well. Ohio State, they're having a really good year. I think they can all make noise and catch up with Nebraska. Nebraska has to play all 3 of those teams as well. So I'm curious to see how it's going to go, especially the next couple weekends.
Nebraska's got Oregon this weekend, a second matchup with Creighton next week in Lincoln this time around, and then another Big Ten weekend series against 14th ranked USC. Bobby, how many of these games do you think Nebraska has to win to feel confident going into the rest of the season?
To host a regional out of the next 8, I'd say you want to win probably 5 or 6. The Oregon series, you can't get swept. If you lose the Oregon series, it's not great. If you win the series, you're in a much better spot. The USC series, I think, is a must-win. I truly believe it's a must-win. You've got to win at least one of the series between Oregon and USC. If you don't win one of them, or if you lose both of them, you're in a really bad spot, and you have to handle business the midweek against Creighton, and then when you go on the road and play Kansas in a couple weeks.
Well, on the other side of Haymarket Park, the softball team has been making history of their own. After the break, Blake Mace and Arden Lockheim will break down the historic softball season.
Nearly 1 in 3 Husker students struggle with food insecurity. Husker Pantry addresses food insecurity and a welcoming space by providing free food and personal items to UNL students in need. Due to high demand, the pantry often runs out of essential items. Help keep the pantry stocked by donating the most needed items. From canned food to personal items and cleaning supplies, you can make a difference by donating. Learn how to donate by visiting pantry.unl.edu.
On average, every Big Ten student wastes 112 pounds of garbage each year, but there's a fix. Make sure you use an Aussie when you dine in and be a part of the change.
Tonight on Nebraska Nightly. Be a hair shorter.
Husker softball soars to number 5 in the USA softball rankings. They've amassed 30 wins and only 6 losses. They also brought out the brooms this weekend, sweeping Rutgers on Saturday, and they play a doubleheader. In their first game, they won 8-0, and in the next one, they won 5-3. On Sunday, they finished the perfect weekend, winning 11-5. Arden, this season has already been fantastic for Nebraska, but what about this weekend against Rutgers that just happened? What stood out to you?
It's important to get the sweeps in the series that you know that you can win, and that's exactly what the Huskers are doing. They are a better team than Rutgers. I mean, 5 in the country, they're a better team than most, but really important to get out that win. That 5-3 win was gritty. The rest of them were fairly comfortable, but they're a battle-tested team. They had the hardest non-conference schedule in all of softball, and now into Big Ten play. They've only lost 1 game. They look really good.
And what stands out about the batting that this team is able to do and able to hit around, because they have a high-powered offense?
They're batting as a team over 300, and it's really just been that other people are stepping up. The big bats of last year, and Ava Kuzak and Sammy Bland, are getting hot, but they haven't quite reached the caliber that they were at last year. And so it's been really cool to see the other players stepping up, whether that's Alexis Jensen, whether that's Hannah Core, whether that's Casey Hoffman, and a lot of those other players kind of not avoid, because Sammy Bland and Ava Kuzak are both still playing well, but just not quite what they were last year.
Arden, there has been no shortage of success this year. And the accolades just keep on coming.
Yeah, while the season is in full swing, it's already proving to be a historic one. Head coach Rhonda Revelle achieved yet another career milestone, winning her 1,200th game on Sunday in her 34th season at Nebraska. She entered the season with the 3rd most wins of any active head coach in Division I. Jordy Fromm also earned Big Ten Pitcher of the Week honors after going 2-0 with a save for the weekend. She tossed a complete game shutout on Saturday and totaled 17 strikeouts. The Husker Bats continue to stay hot as they totaled 24 runs in the series. They're batting .344 in conference play.
The Huskers will travel north this weekend to play the Wisconsin Badgers in a 3-game series. Wisconsin is 21-12 and 7-5 in the conference, and they are undefeated in their short stint at home, but only at 3 wins. And Ava Kuzak will get a chance to take on her former school.
Yeah, she's been here for 2 years now and has really kind of hit her stride as a Husker, but her career did start at Wisconsin, so it's always fun to go back to where your career started and kind of show them how you've developed.
Well, we talked about the batting, but what about the pitching out this weekend? Who could we see step up after Jordy Fromm?
The really consistent rotation has been Jordy Fromm, Alexis Jensen, and Hannah Kamenzind. Those have been the 3. They'll throw in Kylie McGee in there as well, but it's been really cool this year with the way that Alexis Jensen has stepped up, because it's allowed Jordy Fromm to come in as a closer. She has 9 saves already on the season. She set the record when she got 8 a couple weekends ago, actually took the single season save record from Rhonda Revelle. But the rotation has looked a little different with the addition of Alexis Jensen. And there's also another arm in that group in Emerson Cope. We haven't seen her since non-conference play, but that is a tool that they can use.
And then what about just not overlooking this game? Because could be one that they just roll into. They have all the momentum in the world, but how can they not overlook Wisconsin this weekend?
I think they've done a really good job of not just taking it game by game, but taking it pitch by pitch. In the preseason, I think it was the media day or the fan fest, Rhonda Revelle talked to the fans and said that the team philosophy is to take it pitch by pitch, and that she also wanted the fans to do that with them, to not get overly excited or to get overly down. That's why I think they'll handle this weekend in Wisconsin very well, because they are just taking it game by game, pitch by pitch, never getting ahead of themselves.
All right, now we'll send it back to the desk with Trey.
Thank you, Arden and Blake. And guys, we'll start with baseball. And I think the first thing that pops off the page is the experience. But the biggest factor of the success has been the toughness of this team. You really have to play all 27 outs, and we saw that last weekend.
You want me to? Okay. Yeah, it's especially against Penn State as well, when Penn State just jumped on Tyhorn early in the first 3 innings, and then the Nebraska bats didn't stop. It was 6 straight innings with a run. They didn't give up. They scored on wild pitches. They were getting base hits. It just worked for them. And that is how you're going to win a lot of ball games. And they've had to do it against not just Penn State, but teams like Maine and Michigan State. Doesn't matter who's in their way. They have had to just beat anyone in any sort of way.
Yeah, you've talked about the experience too. Dylan Carey in his 4th season as a starter for the Huskers, he's been unbelievable. And then guys like Grigo and Mac Moyer, their ability to stretch a single into a double, take those extra bases, really turn into runs that can win us games.
And especially the youth impact as well. Jeter Worthley is a freshman, Drew Grigo is a freshman, guys that are here to stay. You like that if you're Will Bolt, and these are guys that are making an instant impact.
Then, yeah, you go down the line, you got Case Sanderson, veteran guy in first. Dylan Carey, veteran guy at shortstop. Josh Overbeek, veteran guy at third. Ty Horn, veteran guy on the bump on Friday night. Max Butenbach, Will Jeske, Rhett Stokes. We can go on and on and on just about how long this team has been playing together and with each other, and you're starting to see, especially as they still go undefeated in series of Big Ten play.
Yeah, it just doesn't matter who they have because they've got all the talent that they need to. It's such a well-knit group as well. They're very tight. They're a very happy group. You just see it as well, and you talk to some of these guys that might not be playing as much. Like, this is the most fun I've had in my couple of years here, which is what you want to build as a coach and what you want to build as a program, a place where guys want to go and they can have fun, but it leads to success as well, and that's what's happening this year.
That camaraderie, I think you see it most in those Instagram videos they post where they're talking about playlists or something silly like that, and the whole team is just getting bonded together like that. And you look at the infield too, Overbeek, Sanderson, Carey, and Stokes, all at least in their 2nd year with the Huskers, and that experience has really been showing.
Yeah, and then on to softball, yes, there is a lot of season left, but a lot of eyes nationally, and the fan base are starting to drift towards Oklahoma City in that Women's College World Series.
I think at first you have to be willing to host a regional and then a super regional, and if you're able to do those two, you will be just fine. And obviously it's a little easier said than done right now. And the softball field is still wide open because you still have a Big Ten tournament to play. You have a couple series left against Wisconsin on the road and Minnesota on the road before an eventual home series at the end of the year. You just have to handle business, what's in your way. Yes, we know this is a really good Nebraska softball team. Yes, they won a series against UCLA. It's not over yet. You just have to keep focused and you'll handle business.
Before that 3rd game of the UCLA series, I was talking to Nate Rohr, talking about hosting a super regional, and he said dare to dream. And I think that's something that a lot of fans have been doing this season, already talking about winning a national championship, these great pitchers that they have, the great bats they have. I think these fans really have been daring to dream.
And I think it starts with watch and dream. Who said that? Ken Pavelka when at the Troy game when men's basketball. I think the men's basketball really changed the trajectory of parts of the athletic department of this program can go to places it hasn't been before.
I think that's huge just for the athletic department in general as well. Something that they all want to look at and say, you know, this has been a team and a program that's been, I don't want to say in the dumpster, but has been very low the past couple of years. And now is no longer in that spot because it's climbed up. You've got 2 tournament appearances in the last 3 years. You got a crown victory. You've got your first ever March Madness win, and they have just been phenomenal all in all.
I think when you look at it too, what volleyball has done for this team, showing them that they can have national success, and then basketball does it. Baseball is ranked right now. Softball, one of the top 5 teams in the country. All the sports right now are seemingly getting going at the same time. It's just a great time to be a Huskers fan.
And then back to softball, just a real quick point. Oklahoma City is where the Women's College World Series is by That town sounds familiar to Husker fans. They could see a couple more people in the canal come June.
Better hope Bricktown is ready if Nebraska softball makes it down, because that place is going to be running out of alcohol once again.
Hope they don't have an attendance record that they don't want broken, because when it comes to Husker fans, they like breaking those.
That will be absolutely broken. Well, thank you for tuning in Lima Sports Preview Show. For Brady Arson, Bobby Hessling, our director Tyler Moore, and his entire team working behind the scenes to make it all go. I'm Trey Marler. Have a great night.